What if the emotions you are carrying weren't meant to be carried forever? What if the shame, the anger, the guilt, the grief weren't life sentences, but messages asking to be understood? What if emotional healing isn't about being stronger, but about finally knowing what to do with what you feel? Today, we're going to teach you how to do exactly that. How to process an emotion fully so it can release its grip on you. Because the truth is, you really can't outrun your emotions, but you can learn to move through them.
Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Welcome to Lessons of the Journey. I'm Coach Nicole here with Coach Jen. And today we're talking about something most people desperately need, but very few have ever been taught: how to actually process your emotions in a way that's healthy, grounded, and backed by science. Growing up, most of us were given instructions for everything except emotional life. We were taught how to study, how to work, how to achieve, but almost none of us were taught how to sit with ourselves. We weren't given a playbook for what to do when shame hits, when anger floods the body, when sadness empties us out, when guilt sticks to our ribs like glue. So we did what the world modeled for us. We ignored, we powered through, we distracted, we minimized. We apologized when we didn't need to and stayed silent when we should have spoken up. But emotions don't disappear when they're dismissed. They store themselves in the body, waiting for the moment we finally listen. The tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your throat, the heaviness in your chest, that spiraling at night. Those are unprocessed emotions trying again to be acknowledged. But here's the truth most people never hear. Emotions are not problems. They are processes. They're experiences that want to move through you, not live inside you indefinitely. And when you know how emotions work, processing them becomes so much less intimidating. It becomes something you can do gently, intentionally, and consistently. So in this episode, you'll learn the complete research-supported method for emotional processing, broken down into 4 simple steps: label, naming the emotion; write, revealing the story beneath it; and feel, embody and metabolize it. And number 4 is repair. Take the aligned action that brings closure. Each step is grounded in decades of psychological research. And today, we're not just going to hear about these skills, you're going to practice them. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to move through emotional experiences in a way that's safe, efficient, and deeply relieving. Let's begin today's episode, Processing Emotions, How to Feel and Let Go.
Woo-wee! If somebody would have taught me this 20 years ago,
Better late than never.
holy moly. Oh, the hard work here. All right, what processing an emotion actually means. Before we learn the steps, we need to clear up a misconception. Most people think they're processing their emotions when they're really doing one of these 2 things: suppressing or ruminating. So suppressing sounds like this: I shouldn't feel this way. Nope, don't have time. It's fine. Move on. Get rid of it. Da, 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 da. Okay? Rumination sounds like this: what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why can't I let this go? I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Da, 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 da. The spinning loop inside of our brains. Both feel like activity. It feels like we're doing something because we're thinking our way through it, but neither actually leads to healing. Processing is something entirely different. Processing means you allow the emotion to be felt, understood, and integrated, so it no longer needs your attention. The goal isn't to think your way out of it. The goal is to experience the emotion in a way that lets the body release it. But we don't like that experience. It's uncomfortable. We don't like uncomfortable experiences. You think of it like digestion. If you swallow food and never digest it, it causes pain. Emotions are the same way. Feeling them is how you digest them. Understanding them is how you learn from them. Acting on them is how you release them. That is real emotional processing.
But I just want to think and be done.
Oh, yeah, because I feel like I'm doing something. I'm really good at thinking about it.
I'm processing it as I'm thinking about it.
Totally.
Yeah. No. Oh, okay. All right.
But I'm so smart. I can think my way out of this feeling.
Stop talking what my brain is saying. All right, let's talk about the science behind emotional processing. So before we move into the guided practice, let's ground ourselves in what decades of research tells us about how emotions behave and how certain simple practices reliably help process and release them. Number one, naming the emotion calms the brain. One of the most powerful tools in emotion processing is simply naming what you feel. In a foundational series of neuroimaging studies, researchers Matthew D. Lieberman and colleagues had participants view emotionally provocative images and either just look at the image or label the emotion they felt. Example, sadness, anger. What happened? When people labeled their emotions, activities in the brain's alarm center, which is the amygdala, diminished. At the same time, areas of the prefrontal cortex, especially the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, the RVLPFC, yes, we'll call it that from now on.
For the lay people out there.
Yeah, exactly. Ramped up. Now, this is prefrontal cortex. What we know is that's the logic brain, signaling regulation and control. Mm-hmm. So in short, putting feelings into words actually helps calm down the part of the brain wired for fear and emotional overload, that amygdala. Even if you don't feel it immediately, this labeling activates brain pathways that help regulate emotional reactivity. Mm-hmm. That's why our first step is naming the emotion. It isn't fluff. This is neurobiology. Even something as simple as, I'm angry, I'm overwhelmed, I'm ashamed. It's as if the brain says, oh, I know what this is. I can handle this. You're not suppressing the feeling, you're organizing it, and organized emotions are calmer emotions.
I love that. And of course, that makes perfect sense, right? As humans, we don't like the unknown. The unknown is scary. If we can name it, we know it. We have a version of what that is. And so it's not unknown anymore. And so it's much less scary. I love this.
So number 2, expressive writing creates clarity and emotional release. I just want to point out that Jen and I have been telling y'all to journal for like around a decade. And here's another reason.
For a long time, yes.
Naming helps regulate the initial reaction, but giving space for the experience helps you sort it out. That's where the writing comes in. Research on what's called expressive writing shows real benefits. In one key controlled study of college-age participants with prior vulnerability to depression, those who wrote about their emotional experiences across several days had significantly lower depressive symptoms 6 months later. Oof. Especially among those who tended to suppress emotions when stressed. Again, stop talking to me.
I was like, You know, when you're a kid and you had to hold your arm up, I'm like, it's me.
You're pushing it up with your hand slowly. I guess I have to raise my hand for that one. Another great reason to make journaling a part of your life.
Can I tell you, this is a big deal to me. I had a previous bipolar diagnosis. Those are waves, happy, sad, everything in between. Something that really helped me along the way, and I read this a million years ago. It said, even in the low points, write about it, because what you can do later in the non-low points is go back and go, oh, that's what that experience was. Because in depression, you feel so in it, or when you're low, or when you're feeling a little bit sad, down, hopeless, whatever the depth of the emotion is, to be able to go back in that non-deep junk and read it, it's like, oh, so the next time I go through something like that, and it's the same for the happy emotions. We're not just journaling when we're sad. We're journaling all through the experience, because then in the next down moment, you get to go back and look at the non-down moments and go, oh, look, things can and will get better. They aren't right now, and that's okay. But there is hope. There is something to look forward to, because I have identified an entire range of emotions that I am allowed to feel. Can I tell you how much that helped to be able to go back and read it as though it was a story and that it wasn't my entire essence? It was a really brilliant thing that helped. And so, yeah, it works.
I have never been diagnosed with depression. That being said, into menopause, I have dealt with some depressive episodes. And when you're in something like that, to me, the feeling is nothing can be better. Mm-hmm. So you think this is it. This is the end of feeling. And it's going to be like this forever. Yeah. And when you write about the ups and the downs, you start to realize there's a part in the back of your brain going, this isn't forever, even if you're feeling like it. Mm-hmm. I know for me, with my experience with anxiety for so long, having panic attacks and knowing this is just temporary and I'm going to feel better in 2 hours. Yeah. That is something that you can tell yourself as you go through these experiences. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So why does it work? Because writing helps you structure experience. You move from chaos and raw feeling into ordered language and reflection. Neuroscience suggests that expressive writing and labeling share mechanisms. Both engage that regulatory region, like the RVLPFC, because I'm not going to try and say that again, and reduce that amygdala reactivity, which helps digest emotional experiences rather than letting them fester. I love that word digest right there. Yeah. Helps digest emotional experiences. Yeah. Okay, we digest all the time. This is so good to keep it into that space of like, oh, just like I digest my food. Yes. We can all become that good at this. Over time, people who practice expressive writing show reductions in rumination. Well, I don't ruminate, so I don't know why people have a problem with this. I mean, I don't sit there all day long saying, why are you so stupid?
I don't know, Nicole. I'm a professional ruminator. So, if you need some help with that.
You have to raise your hand on that one too. All right. Expressive writing shows reduction in rumination and emotional distress, effectively giving the mind a safe way to metabolize what's been stored. That's why in our second step, we demonstrate a short but structured writing practice, because it's not just catharsis. It's a rehearsal of emotional processing.
Yes.
For more than 30 years, research led by psychologist James Pennebaker has shown that writing about emotional experiences helps people calm their nervous system, make sense of confusing feelings, decrease stress, improve mood, and even strengthen immune function. These are all amazing things. We know this.
I love this. Yes.
Why? Because writing turns emotions into language. And once something becomes language, the brain can categorize it, understand it, and digest it. People who write about their emotions don't just vent. They create coherence, a storyline. And when the mind has a story, it doesn't have to hold the tension anymore. Writing turns overwhelm into meaning, and meaning turns chaos into clarity. Huh.
Oh my gosh. And I just want to make sure that we're very clear on this expressive writing. This isn't more thinking, curating your journal entry. This is Write what is on your mind. Let it go. It's stream of consciousness. It's get it out. What Nicole just said, writing turns the overwhelm into meaning. How often have we just been spinning in our own heads and we just don't know what to do with it? Just putting it on paper does something? What?
And when we do the experience, we're going to give you some questions to ask yourself to keep it into that processing space.
Mindful acceptance reduces emotional intensity. Processing doesn't always happen with thinking or words. Sometimes, actually often, it happens with your presence. This means letting yourself feel without judgment or resistance. But that's so hard. It's so uncomfortable. I don't like it.
But I judge all things.
Yes, myself the most and the feelings that I'm having. Mindfulness and acceptance practices work not because they eliminate emotion, but because they change how the nervous system registers it. Recent large-scale studies show that mindfulness, meditation, and related practices significantly reduce rumination, worry, and suppression, all of which are known to fuel depression and anxiety. By intentionally allowing a feeling to be present. Now, I said allowing, not doing anything about it, just allowing it to sit with you. Rather than fighting it, because, that's what we do, you help your brain reclassify what is happening. It moves from threat to a passing internal event. Mind you, the more you do this, the easier it becomes. Practice, practice. This shift calms your nervous system, reduces reactivity, and gives you space for healing. Using acceptance, not suppression, rewires how emotions are processed over time. We love that neuroplasticity. Our brains are amazing. Another major finding from mindfulness research, emotional exposure studies, and therapy models like ACT is that fighting an emotion keeps it alive. But when you allow the feeling, when you say, this is sadness, I don't love it, but I can let it be here for a minute. Your nervous system stops reacting as though you're in danger. A single minute of allowing rather than resisting is enough to shift the body out of a threat state. Isn't it wild that we can be like, I'm sad, and our body goes, you're being chased by a lion, go. Isn't that wild?
Come to center. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm safe. I just feel sad.
So remember, mindful acceptance does not mean you like the feeling. You don't have to like it. It does mean that you stop attacking yourself for having it. And when the attack stops, the intensity drops.
But I have so much fun attacking myself for having feelings.
You know, I'm not kidding you. I just had this conversation and it was like, why are you holding on to this shit? It's like, I don't know, because I feel like I'm doing something. If I'm not punishing myself for something, what kind of life is this?
Professional beater-upper of self, yes.
Totally.
And this all makes sense. Like, logically, I get it all.
Yeah.
I know I can think my logical way through it. Ooh.
Yeah. Sitting in uncomfort? You all know Nicole and I just love our vulnerability.
Doesn't every human know? I'm sure there are people who are great at vulnerability, but it's tough.
It is.
Oof.
Rumination and suppression make emotions stick. So we think we're thinking our way out of it, but guess what we're doing? We're just getting all up in the ick of it. So finally, a big warning. There are ways to not process emotions. Research repeatedly finds that habitual suppression, which is, again, pushing those feelings down, or rumination, which is that mental replaying, rethinking, reanalyzing of the same emotional event over and over and over, Those things are strongly associated with prolonged distress, depression, anxiety, and overall poor mental health outcomes. Rumination keeps the stress response switched on. It traps the emotion in a loop. And those of us who are professional ruminators know exactly what this is like, even how I give a visual. I'm just cuckoo in my head. That's why emotional processing is active work. We are actively working. This is not passive stuff we're talking about here. It is not sitting and stewing. It's not good for you anyway. It's actually guiding the emotion through your system with intention. So those of us control freaks out there who actually want to feel like we have control over something, hold on to this, because you actually are able to help this emotion work through your body. That's a great version of control right there. In a large meta-analysis of emotional regulation strategies, suppression correlated with worse outcomes, lower mental health, and higher negative effects. So emotional stuckness doesn't come from feeling. It comes from not processing. You don't want to let emotions sit. You actually want them to move. You do this through naming, through writing, feeling, and repair. And that's exactly what this episode is about. We are not theorizing here. We're not guessing. We're working with what decades of science reveals about how our minds and nervous systems handle emotion, and giving you the tools that make processing safe, accessible, and effective.
This is amazing. I want to say, I think when you have that control personality, you live in the illusion of control most of the time.
Yes.
This is actual control.
Yeah.
This is actual power. This is using the forces of your power for good versus your power for evil.
I'm the good witch.
As I'm beating myself up, I'm like, oh, that's using my power for evil, but use your power for good. This is amazing. Yeah. I actually want to highlight a tool that can make this work even more powerful. It's the emotion wheel. Most of us think we feel happy, sad, or angry, and we stop there. But in reality, human emotion is vast and nuanced. There are dozens of shades of feeling, and learning to identify them is one of the most effective ways to process your inner life. An emotion wheel is a visual guide that organizes emotions into primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. You start with broad categories like joy, sadness, anger, fear, and surprise, and then you branch into more specific feelings like frustration, irritation, grief, longing, hope, or relief. Why is this so useful? Because simply being able to name the specific feeling you're experiencing, I'm feeling anxious versus I'm feeling apprehensive about change, gives your brain clarity. Neuroscience tells us that the more precise you are about your emotions, the more effectively your brain can regulate them. You're not just labeling, you're understanding and distinguishing what your nervous system is actually experiencing. Think of it like learning a new language, but this language is your own emotional experience. The more words you know, the more fully you can express yourself, and the more effectively you can process what's happening inside. Consider keeping an emotional wheel nearby. You can find these online and print one out. You can buy a pretty one on Amazon and hang it on your walls, put one on your fridge, put one in your bedroom. Just have them handy. It can be your compass when you pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? The more you expand your emotional vocabulary, the deeper and more precise your processing can be.
Y'all, she is not joking. I learned this in therapy a number of years ago, and ta-da! We've got one in almost every room of our house. As Nicole mentioned, you can Google it, get it the way you want it. This feel wheel is specifically for my children because they don't have the vocabulary to understand what the adult feel wheel, which is quite expansive. This is what children can understand. And We do this actively. You've heard in other sessions that Nicole and I have mentioned that we have a feelings wheel. We use it. Can I tell you, I felt so dumb using a feelings wheel. Like, we as humans, we know what, 3, 4, Nicole, happy, sad,
mad,
scared,
glad.
love. Yeah. 4. That's not enough. That's not going to help us label what's actually going on. This particular one, this is for children. It helps them to begin, because how necessary is this? We can't help our kids if they don't even know how to tell us what's going on. We can't help ourselves. We can't ask our partners for help. We can't tell our therapist what's going on if we are not able to figure out what words to put together to say, oh, I'm feeling embarrassed. That's on the anxious scale. Goodness, did I know that? Again, I felt silly doing this, but we really have one in every room of our house. Paul and I have the adult one. Our kids have started using the one for children, and it makes such a difference. It's a big deal, you guys.
You know what I like about that also? I don't know if this is something that works in your house, but if you have a child who shuts down and won't speak, they can point.
Yes.
And if you can teach a child to point to what they're feeling, if they're readers, or maybe if they understand the colors, there could be the color chart.
I don't know if you can see it, but know those faces in the hospital where they're like, what's your level of pain? Because if you can't speak, they have the faces on here, and kids just naturally have learned what these faces mean. So there's happy, there's scared, loved, mad, sad, anxious. Those are the core. And then a color is assigned to them. And a couple of books that I have in my house give colors to emotion. Like when we're angry, feel like the fire, the lava boiling inside of you. So that helps the kids kind of start to identify where they're landing.
Yeah.
And then if you're in an adult partnership, it really allows each other to be like, oh, when this is happening, I can see that you are feeling this way, and I can try to help through that, or at least have empathy toward the emotion. I wish the adult one had the faces on it.
We'd have that adult one that's like a knife, and I want to stab you right now. That's how I feel. No, I'm bad.
I will tell you that all of the menopause and perimenopause symptoms are not on the feelings wheel. That means we need our own perimenopause, postmenopausal, menopausal. We need our own feelings wheel for that. How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, that's actually not a bad idea. We might have to talk about that. Work on our own wheel.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you'll return next week for the conclusion of how to actually process emotions, where we dive deep into that processing work. See you next week.
Write your lines with passion.